All right, we're going to go ahead and get started this morning. I would like to thank you all for joining us today for this week's edition of the CCSalesPro show. You notice we changed it up a little bit. I'm going to actually start calling it the CCSalesPro show. And each week we're going to have different topics, different special guests that we're going to try to have on the show. And we're also, the segments that we have it split up in, you're already familiar with several of them. We're going to, of course, start out with our core values. After our core values, we're going to have a short segment every week called What's New, and we're going to talk about some things that are new, whether it be on our sales team or in the industry or with some of our processing partners. Then we're going to get into the training session. That'll be the longer segment of the show. We'll probably have that go about 30 minutes usually, and that's where either I'll cover a topic or we'll have someone that we're interviewing from the industry that's going to talk about things you can do to improve your business and grow. And then the last section is going to be called Taking Action, and we're going to present some specific action steps that you can take right away to improve your business and to help it grow. So let's get right into it today. We're going to, of course, start as always with our core values. Now, this week in our training session, we're talking about being organized. It's called being organized with integrity. We're going to talk about a little bit today. So our core values today, I have applied these to your organizational system. First of all, learn that time can be expanded. It is not a finite resource. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. I do realize that time is finite, and I know we each have a certain amount of time each day. However, one of the key things I want to point out today is that through scheduling correctly, through managing your energy and your emotions instead of just your time, you can get more done in an hour than maybe you're getting done right now. So if you look at your schedule right now and you think, well, I'm as busy as I can get, I'm doing something all the time, you may just be staying busy, but being busy and being productive are two very different things. So I want to encourage you to keep an open mind to some new ideas of ways that you can actually get more done in less time, okay? So always learning. Make sure you have an open mind to learn some things about organization today and put some things in practice that you might not have done before. It might seem a little strange to try because trust me, these things do work. I was talking to my wife Christina a few weeks ago and I told her, I said, it's crazy, but I actually feel like I get more done right now in the morning from like 9 to 10 than I used to get done 5 years ago all day long. And it's not that my hour became longer. It's just that I've learned how to organize my day better. I've learned how to delegate certain things, how to leverage technology to get certain things done. So I can just get a lot more done. I mean, I was telling her some days I would get like 50 or 60 emails and I would just be overwhelmed, with all of these emails I was getting. There's never a day that goes by right now that I don't get 300 emails. And honestly, I'm not even stressed about it. I get it done, no problem. Get all the work done I need to get done. And, it's really all just comes down to the fact that you can learn how to be better organized. You can learn how to get more done in less time. So learn to manage your energy and your emotions, not just your time, okay? You have to learn to manage your energy and your emotions. When are you going to be in the right mood to take on this particular task, okay? When is your energy going to be high enough to do something? You don't want to promise somebody that you're going to do something at a time when your energy is going to be low and you already know that you're going to be, your energy is going to be shot, okay? So learn to manage your energy and your emotions. You have to think about that when you're doing your scheduling. A lot of times we'll have stuff in our schedule where it's like back to back to back things that we're going to do. And if we're not careful, we'll look at that and think, well, I can get all that done because I have time to do it, but do you have enough energy to do it? Are your emotions going to be able to last long enough to do it? For instance, I could do phone calls for 3 or 4 hours a day and set up 10-minute phone calls back to back for 3 hours, but I know from experience that actually about an hour and a half to 2 hours is my max. After 2 hours of doing 10-minute back-to-back phone calls, I got to take a break. Like, I don't have enough energy to do that particular task. Now, ironically enough, it doesn't really tax my mind that much to take those phone calls because I'm used to saying the same things and recruiting agents and doing training calls. So it doesn't really tax me mentally. It's just like, man, I can't do that anymore. So a lot of times I'll schedule a strategic time after that where I'll take some time to think about the strategy or think about the direction of our company or maybe a new program that I'm thinking about rolling out, because I know my mind is going to be in good shape after that, but I just know that I'm done making phone calls after like an hour and a half or 2 hours, okay? So just things like that. You have to learn to manage your energy and your emotions, not just your time. So it's not just about how much could I get done in this amount of time, but how much energy do I have to get this done, and am I going to be able to handle this much work for this period of time? When do I need a break in there? Okay, always living. Stick to your big goals in life. Many of you have big goals, and let me encourage you to just stick to those. Keep moving towards them. If you've ever been out on a big lake and you're on like a pontoon boat or something, and you're heading to a dock where you're supposed to go to dock your boat. Many times you're going to be off course a little bit when you're on that boat. You're swaying back and forth. You might have some waves hit you, but you know that directionally you keep looking up and going, okay, I'm pretty much heading towards that dock over there, okay? Look at your life that way. When we say always living, what we're talking about is always living towards your goals, living life on purpose, and no matter what comes your way, no matter what problems come, don't lose faith in the fact that you're going to hit your eventual goal, your long-term goal, and just keep steering towards that goal in your life. Do important things, not just urgent things, every single day. So important. If we're not careful, we can get caught up in the emails and the phone calls and the customer calls and these things that really are not that important. They're just really urgent. You know what I mean? And yeah, sure, we have to take care of some of them, but they're just urgent. They're not really that important. And you could go 3 or 4 or 5 days without doing the things that are really going to get you to where you want to go. And so while it's almost like we're standing still, but we're just running like crazy, So we're busy, and it's like we're running in circles all day long, and we're just doing things. But are the things that you're doing actually important? Are they actually moving you closer to your goal? What did you do this week? It's Friday, so what did you do this week to get you closer to your long-term goal? Whether it be your long-term goals with your family or whether it be your long-term goals with your business. What are things you did to improve to actually grow yourself, your business, your family, your relationships towards those long-term goals that you have? Make sure you're doing important things, not just urgent things. Always leveraging. Let me share a quick organizational thing that I do on a pretty regular basis. I just did this actually last week, and I'm going to show you guys something that came as a result of doing this. Write down everything you do, okay, with your business I'm talking about here primarily, okay, or if you have, charity things that you do, stuff like where you're actually going out and doing something with work. Write down everything you do and ask yourself 2 questions, okay? Number 1, how much would it cost for me to have technology do this for me? Now, I have changed this question over the years. I used to ask, could technology do this? Is this something technology could do? I no longer ask that question, okay? The question I ask now is, how much would it cost for technology to do this? Let me explain why. It's very rare that you would have a task that there isn't some way to automate it or to have technology do it. Okay, most tasks you can automate to a certain extent. Okay, now not all of them, and I understand that. Of course, there's some you can't, but I like to really think outside the box here. And I mean, get crazy with it and really think about, some things, yeah, I could automate that, but it would probably cost $1 million. I'd have to build a robot or something, who knows? But, what could I do to automate this, to delegate it to technology? And get really creative, think outside the box, and you'll be surprised what you can do with technology. Let me show you something real quick that came out of this. So I was asking that question, and now that I have people that work for me, I also have to ask the question of how much would it cost for me to have technology do the things that this person that works for me is doing, because I also want to make sure that I'm always leveraging my time with these people. So let me just show you something that came out of this. So I was talking to Angela, and asking her what are some things that she does, and we were talking about how much would it cost to delegate some of the things that she does to technology. And one of the things that she said takes up so much of her time is emailing back and forth. I take a lot of phone calls every day, and she does my schedule. And so she spends a lot of time emailing back and forth between agents and prospective agents and setting up times when I'm going to take a 10-minute phone call. And so I said, well, what if we got technology to do that for us? And we were both kind of scratching our heads like, well, how is technology going to do that? You know what I mean? But we really started thinking outside the box. I talked to Paul Boyce, who's one of our, our IT guy and stuff. And here we came up with this solution here. Now, we don't have any slots in here. It's going to be starting on Monday, but we actually created a link, CCSalesPro.com/James, and we're going to talk about this next week's show, but where now Angela, if somebody says, hey, I want to talk to James, she can just send them a link, and then she's going to have in here my available times every day, split up by 10-minute slots, and then somebody can just go in there and select a time and say, okay, I want this time right here, and then they can go ahead and put their name, their phone number, the reason for the call, etc. And what it's going to do is it's going to automatically synchronize it with my calendar. And so here we were able to delegate something that takes a huge amount of time for Angela to do every day, and something, honestly, I would have never thought we could have delegated to technology. But if you really start thinking outside the box about things, how could I add some technology into this? Usually you're going to have to still do some things yourself, but there's also some things you can delegate to technology, maybe a part of the process that you could automate and have technology do. And whenever you can, it's always a good investment. If you can afford it at all, really stretch yourself financially in this area to try to use technology because your time is worth money. And as long as you're working hard and you're out in the field selling, then any time you can free up for yourself, that's a good thing, and you're going to be able to use that to your advantage, okay? Okay, so always learning, always living, always leveraging. How much would it cost to have technology do this? And then lastly, how much would it cost to delegate this to somebody else? Start thinking about that. Again, if you are out in the field selling effectively and you're using your time effectively out in the field, then it might make sense to delegate some things. Now, if you're still trying to get your energy and your emotions, you're still trying to manage those aspects, and you're only prospecting a couple hours a day, you're not really out in the field very much, then I wouldn't recommend you start delegating tasks to other people. But if you've really gotten into a good groove and you're out there in the field and the only reason you're not prospecting more is because you have too many administrative tasks or installations or paperwork to do, it's time to think about delegating. It's time to ask yourself, how much would it cost for me to delegate this task to someone else so I can focus on the important things that are going to drive my business and my dreams forward? First of all, the quote for today is a quote from a mega church pastor that is a really good guy. I was reading one of his books, and he said, exercise integrity at the moment of choice. Exercise integrity at the moment of choice. He was talking about scheduling. So what we're going to talk about today is a few moments of choice in scheduling that I want to talk to you about, a few choices that you need to make in order to have a system of organization that is effective and efficient. First of all, number one, choose one inbox that contains everything. What do I mean by everything? Everything. Okay? It's that simple. Everything. There is nothing that would not go in my inbox. Nothing. Okay? So when I say an inbox that contains everything, I mean everything. If you're working with Podio, you need to have email notifications set up for your tasks so that it comes to your email inbox. Synchronize your schedule. If you're talking about using whatever, as far as your phone calls and your text messages, use Google Voice. Google Voice will send your voicemails and your text to your email inbox. If you're talking about faxing things back and forth, use an e-fax provider like myfax.com where you can send and receive faxes from your email inbox, okay? So when I say everything, I mean everything comes to your inbox. And anything that doesn't come to your inbox that someone tells you, you immediately put them into your inbox. You can get different apps on your phone where you can make voice notes that automatically email to your inbox. So when somebody says, hey, do you think you could stop by and do this or that or whatever, that immediately, hold on one second, let me put that in my phone, and you send it to your email inbox. Everything comes to your email inbox. Everything, okay? You might have heard people in the past or organizational books talk about mind like water. And they talk about how when your mind is just so freed up to think on whatever you're doing because you're not worried about anything else because you know your system has everything taken care of. That's what having one inbox will do for you if you exercise integrity at the moment of choice, which we're going to talk about in a second. It depends on several different factors. However, understand that what we're talking about today, Mark, isn't having we're not talking about having the terminal processing over an IP connection, okay? We are just talking about doing the download and the reprogram over the IP connection, okay? You still want to do everything just like you did before. Many times I'll still do a phone line for the actual connection type. What we're talking about is just when you go to do the download of the new file to reprogram the terminal, it takes 20, 30, 45 minutes sometimes. Hook it up to an internet line, it's going to take like 2 minutes. So, but yeah, that's a good question. Email me that and I'll answer that for you. Choose action over organization. This is something that I've just started to believe more and more and more. The longer that and guys, I'm really into the whole organizational thing. Like I'm always reading the organizational books and stuff. And one thing that I've really learned, kind of over the years of trying to get my organizational system down and get it to where it can handle, I've gone through a lot of times where I get to a point and say, I can't do anything else. Like I'm maxed out. So I've got to reorganize. And so I'm constantly doing that. And let me tell you something I've learned over and over again, okay? Choose action over organization, okay? Too many agents are too concerned with organizing and prioritizing everything they do. And they're really worried. I talk to them and it's like, I got to get a better organizational system. No, you don't. In most cases, you don't. You just have to stop worrying about it. Do the things I'm going to talk about today, some simple steps, and then just take action all day long. Don't worry about organizing, take action. Organize only the things you can't do right now. This is what happens in too many situations, and the reason that you get overloaded. A customer calls you and you get a voicemail because you don't pick the phone up because you're doing something else. And you get a phone call and you don't pick up and they leave a voicemail. You listen to the voicemail and it says, hey, I need this taken care of. And then you think, okay, what am I going to do with this voicemail? Let's see. I need to put it in my schedule, but I also need to come to my email inbox. Now, what priority level is this? Is this an A, a B, or a C priority? Should I do this in the morning or should I do this in the afternoon? How long is this going to take? Wow. I might even have to drive out to their location if I take this call and I call them back. So I should probably plan to do it on Friday instead of tomorrow because Good night. Just do it. Just answer the phone. Just hit redial. You know what I mean? Just do it immediately. Just take action on it. You know what I mean? This is something you can do right now. So just do it right now. Just pick up the phone. Or, it's funny, more and more, I used to let a lot of my calls go to voicemail. And you know what? More and more, I'm not even doing that. More and more, I'm just answering the phone. You know why? Because I don't want the hassle. Either way, I'm going to have to talk to that person. And I don't want the hassle of trying to put it into my organizational system and then figure out what I'm going to call them. Just call them. Just answer the phone. Call them right back. Get it over with. You know what? You might not have to go out to the merchant's location. And if you do, you can work that out while you're on the phone with them. Phone calls are a great way to get things done fast. Just answer the phone, call the person back. If you get an email, don't think about, well, what am I going to do with this email? Where am I going to put it? When am I going to return it? Just reply. Just reply. Don't think about it, just reply. Get it done, get it over with, okay? If you can. Now again, sometimes you're unplugged, and that's different. You got to separate your work time from your not work time, but when you're in work mode, be in work mode and just do stuff. Just take action, okay? Number 2, think about changes in direction, not about execution. If you know what to do, just do it. So don't take a lot of time to think about, what am I going to do about this customer? You know what you need to do about that customer. Just do it. Take time to think about your direction that you're going with your business and your life. But once you've decided on a direction, once you've decided on a procedure, then that's all you need to do, okay? Don't worry about everything else. Just do what you know you have to do and just get it done and take action. Try to look at each email only once per day, okay? This right here, this is what I talk about, exercising integrity at the moment of choice. This is what I'm talking about, okay? Only look at an email once per day. Once you look at an email, really, unless you're like in the middle of something, and if you're in the middle of something, don't look at your email. You know what I mean? But if you're going to look at your email, then pull it up and look at that and say, okay, can I do this right now? And if you can, then do it. If you can't, then put it in the folder for the day when you're going to do it. So if you say, I'm not going to do this today, but I'm going to do it tomorrow, put it in tomorrow's folder, and tomorrow when you look at your email inbox and that comes up, do it immediately, okay? Only look at emails once, preferably only once, but definitely no more than once per day, okay? That will help you to really exercise integrity at that moment of choice when you have to choose, you know, oh, this one. Well, should I do this or not? No, just are you going to do it? Are you not going to do it? And if you are going to do it, can you do it right now? If so, get it done. If not, when are you going to do it? And put it in that folder. Choose to have an empty inbox every single day. Let me say that again. Sounds really simple, but do you do this? Okay? Choose to have an empty inbox every day. This is a choice that you make. And let me explain what I mean by that. I'm not saying choose to get every single thing done every day that you could possibly do. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying choose to have an empty inbox every day, and let me explain what I mean by that, okay? Every single day, if you have your folder set up correctly, you have a folder for tomorrow. So like right now, I have a folder for Saturday, I have a folder for Sunday, I have a folder for Monday, all right? So when I look at something at the end of my day today, if I've got 15 emails left in my inbox at the end of the day, and some of them might be voicemails I haven't returned, some might be texts I haven't returned, some might be emails from agents, some of them might be faxes I've received, whatever, okay? At the end of each day, I've got to stop about 15 minutes before the end of my day, and I got to go through every single one of those emails one by one, click on it, and choose to do it tomorrow. Here's what too many people do. They do one of two things. Either they leave everything in their inbox and say, well, I got to be done for the day. I just don't have time to mess with the rest of these. And so they go home wondering what was in their inbox. You know what I mean? They're thinking, man, what was in my inbox? What did I leave undone? They don't even know because they just are like, I got to go. And they just leave it. The other thing that they'll do is they'll look at stuff and they'll say, well, I have to do that today. I have to do it today, but I have to go home. So I've got to leave it in my inbox because I have to do it sometime today. And then the whole rest of the day, they're with their family or with their friends, and they're thinking, sometime today, I have to do that. I have to do that. I have to do that. And guess what happens? They don't do it. Gets to the end of the day, they were stressed the whole rest of the day. And what do? They go in the next morning and they do it first thing in the morning and they're fine. So if it's an emergency today, it'll be an emergency tomorrow. So take some time and go through each one and make a decision. Exercise integrity at the moment of choice. If you're done working for the day, then you're done working for the day. So go in there and say, you know what? I need to do this, but I'm making a decision that I'm going to do this tomorrow, and then put it in tomorrow's folder. Or I'm making a decision that I'm not going to look at this again until Monday. Put it in Monday's folder, okay? What that's going to do for you is it's going to free up your mind so that the rest of the day, you know, my inbox is empty. I've looked at everything that was in there. I've made a conscious decision about when I was going to do those things, and I've moved them to the appropriate day. And then when that day comes along, you know you're going to take action immediately because that's what you do, okay? Choose to have an empty inbox every day. Choose to say no to unimportant tasks. Choose to say no to unimportant tasks. Guys, if we did everything that everybody asked us to do, we would never get a third of the things done that we need to get done. And we certainly wouldn't get any important tasks done. So you need to say no to some unimportant tasks. You know, there are some people that you just don't need to go over to their house once a week. You know what I mean? Sometimes that bowling league is just not going to happen right now. You know, whatever it is, you know. Just sometimes things are not going to happen. Sometimes a customer really wants you to stop by and visit them, and you're going to have to take care of that on the phone because it's just not important, you know? So you have to be able to say no to some unimportant tasks. Don't let everything get into your schedule. And here's the other thing you got to do. You have to learn to simplify some things. You know, sometimes you might, for instance, there have been times where I've delegated things to somebody, and then I found out that I was spending more time managing the person that I delegated the task to than I was doing the task myself. So guess what I do in that case? I get rid of that person and I take over doing the task again because it's not worth it. You got to look at your time carefully. Look at what you're doing and think about, what am I spending a lot of time on? is that really important? Should I be doing that? Should I be spending that much time on that issue? And if not, if you want to live according to our values of always living and living life on purpose, it means saying no to some things. It means restructuring some things. It means having an open line of communication with your spouse or your significant other or your friends and family about how much time you're going to be able to put into certain things right now, because your focus is on these important things in your life. And so, some things are just not important to you. It might be maybe you and your spouse are just, every time you're together, you're watching television, and your goal is you want to get closer to your spouse and you want to spend quality time with them. So it might mean sitting down with them and saying, "Hey, look, let's make a new plan. Let's only watch television 2 days a week, and then the other days let's just have more quality time where we sit down and maybe let's both read the same book, or let's talk, or let's go out on a date, or whatever." Whatever it is, whether it's in business or personal, you got to look at the things that are important, and you have to say no to the things that are unimportant, because you can't get them both done. And so learn to be able to say no, learn to be selective with your time. Okay, last segment of this week's CC Sales Pro show, we're going to talk about taking action. What are some things you can take action on based on this particular show? And a few other things I wanted to mention. Number one, create a Gmail account with folders. Make sure that your Gmail account has an inbox. Make sure it has a non-action. A non-action folder is very simple. It means I can't take any more action on this. That's really simple. Once you get done dealing with something, take all the action you can take on it and then move it to the non-action folder. Once you reply to an email, move it to non-action. Once you've returned a voicemail, move that voicemail to non-action. Once you've responded to a text, move that text to non-action. Once you've done whatever you need to do with a particular fax that you receive, move it to non-action. So everything starts in the inbox and gets moved to non-action. Then you want to have another folder for every weekday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You might also want to have one for the weekend if you do things on the weekend, like on Saturday and Sunday, if you're not taking those days off. Like for me, I do a lot of ministry stuff, so I have Saturday and Sunday folders as well. And then have a folder for every single month. So every month you have a folder that you can use. Have that folder so you can move things to the correct folder. If some things you look at, maybe it's a customer that said they might be interested or whatever. You got something and you say, you know what, this is not a good time for this. I probably need to wait a few months before I deal with this. Maybe you have an idea and you don't want to lose that idea. I do this a lot. And I'll email myself an idea that I have. And then I think, I really can't do anything with that right now. But 6 months from now, that might actually have an impact. So then I move it to a folder in 6 months from now. Create a block schedule for your week. This is something you got to talk to your spouse about. And let me tell you, things in life change. Yesterday, my wife and I had our first day where we had our kids all day long. Our new kids that we are adopting, and we had them all day yesterday. They're still just coming sporadically right now. It'll be a few weeks before they actually make the full transition. But it really got me to thinking. And my wife and I said, "Hey, let's have a date," because they left about 7:30 or so. And I told my wife we were going to clean up the house because it was like a disaster area, of course. And I said, "Hey, you know what, honey? Let's go on a date. Let's go out to eat. We need to talk." So we went out and we talked about our schedules. And I was like, hey, the reality of having kids is like hitting me here. So we need to talk about our schedules because I want to be there for you. I don't want you to feel like you're stuck there with the kids all the time. And we got to have a good schedule. And so we talked about our schedules, and I've got to adjust my block schedule. I talked to Angela as well, my administrative assistant, about how I got to change my schedule. So things happen, but you got to have that block schedule. So take action and make a block schedule about. Now I like to split mine up into 1.5 hour time blocks. So go 1.5 hours at a time. This is not something you have to live by, like, a rigid schedule. It's just a general idea. Talk to your spouse, talk to people that work with you, and figure out, like, when am I going to do stuff in general? When am I going to be at home? When am I going to be, at work? Things like that. Make a list of specific important actions that are going to drive your success, and make sure you're doing those things. So again, we talked about this earlier, but you need to write down a list. I mean, for instance, if you're in merchant services, then prospecting would be a very important task. The more prospecting you do, the more new business owners you meet, then the faster your business is going to grow. And so it's very important that you do that task. So that would be on your important task list. So hey, thanks everybody so much for joining us today. Hope you have a wonderful week. Don't miss out next week. Next Friday, we're going to have a really cool show. I was already talking to a lot of different things, and so we're very excited about that. So make sure you join us next week. Thanks, everybody, so much. Hope you have a wonderful day today.